Hi everybody, and welcome once again to She. It's a show where we talk about issues affecting women, and we also pat ourselves on the back for the issues that we are getting right. Remember to send your feedback to our SMS line 20316 or our WhatsApp line 0786 316 316, and we will interact together. My name is Lily, and I have amazing women on the table tonight. To my extreme right is Dr. Rebecca Nganga, a lecturer at Daystar University. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's a grandmother. She has ticked all the boxes. And you're going to be telling us more about yourself. And to my immediate right is Stephanie Wanjiru. You are the country sales manager at Searbit Limited. That is the fintech industry. Yes. Karibu sana. You're also a mother, and you'll be telling us more about yourself. And to my immediate left is Reverend Phyllis Bird, a woman I respect so much. She's my spiritual mother, and I'm so excited to have you on the table tonight. You are an associate minister at St. Andrews, and you are director of the Just Communities program at Organization of African Institute of Churches. It's a pleasure to have you here today. Karibu. And I guess I can start with you. You're also a wife and a mother, so just tell us a bit more about yourself.
Yes, I work for the Organization of African Instituted Churches, which is an organization that works with African independent churches throughout the continent of Africa. And my title is Director of the Just Communities. And I look at how we as people of faith can allow our spirituality, our faith, to speak to issues of everyday life, such as poverty alleviation, environmental injustice when it comes to women, just a whole ballgame of hunger alleviation, etc. I believe quite often what we think about is either we sit back and say, let's wait till we get to heaven and everything is going to be okay, or we say, let's write a donor and let a donor solve the problem. Yeah. But in actuality, we really believe in the power of the Spirit of God within us. The Spirit of God came and changed everything and turned everything upside down. So we as people of faith need to begin to address these issues systemically, not just say, give you a bag of food and that alleviate hunger, but what is the causes of hunger and how do we work towards alleviating that? So that's one of the things that I do, hunger and many other things as a director of the Just Communities and also as a pastor at St. Andrews PCEA.
I think that's a heavy crown to wear because it's easy to send a bag of maize. Yeah. But to solve a problem at the core, that's quite something. Yeah. All right, Stephanie, karibu sana. Tell us about the fintech and everything that you're doing, leadership. Yeah.
So we're in the fintech space. So it's a mix of financials and tech and technical. So I'm a mix of both. So basically what we do, we enable businesses to be able to collect seamlessly, both locally and internationally. So I'm able to I look at Kenya, I look at Uganda, I look at Tanzania, and trying to help Africans collect, because Africa is one of the most fragmented markets out there, yeah? So we are sort of third world in Kenya, but we are trying to move Africa to be better at collecting payments. Yes. And I'm in charge of strategic partnerships here and just trying to help one business at a time. Yes.
And you're also a mom.
Yes, I'm also a mom to a beautiful baby boy. Yes. Of a 1 year, 9 month old.
Wow.
Yes, it's been an exciting journey.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Karibu sana Daktari, you look amazing in white. And you can tell us about your work teaching people at Daystar University, being a mother, a grandmother. You know, it's goals for us. We want to tick those boxes. Yeah.
Really, what is it that a woman can do? I mean, I remember last night I had a class and on leadership and communication, and to set us off, we looked at Exodus chapter 2. Creative woman who looks at her son and decides he's not going to be a victim of the socio-economic status that they are in and the environment, and she does something. She is not looking for donors or the government will come to do, or even the husband. This woman is creative, and that's what we need to nurture, I believe, as the women. The women who know God. Again, you look at that story and see that she takes her child in a basket, doesn't just leave him. He has the older one to keep an eye. Yeah, so that you can see she is taking responsibility rather than being a victim of her environment. And then There's something that, as we were discussing that last night, was becoming very very powerful even in me, that how is it that she raised her daughter, who could not have been so old, maybe 6, 7 years, to be so in charge that in presence of danger, she does not run away. She goes to where the real danger is, where the corona and all the shortages are. She goes there, and she's thinking ahead, so that before Pharaoh's daughter talks, she has already guessed, can I help you get someone to look after him? You know, so that, how do you raise your daughter that in the face of the difficulties, the men that are looking out to take advantage of any small girl, to be able to handle it in a dignified way that brings life, even for everyone.
Yes, and that's powerful. Today we are talking about who am I as a woman, knowing your identity. When I was growing up, I remember one thing that was repeated a lot is, you must learn how to make ugali. If you don't know how to make, ugali, your husband will kick you out. So everything was husband, it was building up to family, husband, children. And so I wanted to start with the different stages of life and how they affect. Is there something you can think of that in your childhood that really impacted you?
I think I grew up in a different cultural context. My mom was not, her highest level of education was 11th grade. But yet she, for me, was a woman before her time, because she instilled in her daughters that you get your education, go far beyond what I have been able to go. And when you want something, buy it yourself. Don't wait for someone to give it to you. And she often said to us, because if a man buys you that dress and you're walking down the street, and if he gets angry with you, he'll say, give me that dress. I bought that for you. Give me that television. I bought that for you. But she said, buy it yourself. You know. So I love the fact that she instilled that within us to go as far as we can, and she wanted to make sure that her daughters, especially her daughters, go even beyond what she was able to go, you know, education-wise. You know, and I think we all followed suit. So I think I also mimicked that with my family. And telling them to go beyond and make sure, you know, why do you have to wait for someone to buy something for you? Buy it yourself. You want to travel? Travel yourself. You know, so therefore when men flash money to my children, my father took me there. You know, Kempinski's, no big deal. I've gone there for tea already. You know, be able to say that, you know, because that gives you a certain amount of dignity that you're not overly excited about someone who comes with a wad of money. And, you know, because I can make that, you know. I may not have it now, but I can make it, you know. So I like that sense of dignity that she has instilled in us, and that sense of person and knowing who you are as a woman.
Childhood memories.
When I think about my childhood memories, one thing comes to mind. I remember I used to really have a lot of excuses. So my dad would ask me, how come this happened? I thought we discussed about this. I always had a reason, you know. And he always used to say, excuses. So she used to call me excuses, 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 you know. And he used to tell me, stop making an excuse and just do better. Just improve. Wow. Right? So that is something that has really stuck with me over the years. And it has really led me to become a more disciplined person and to always take responsibilities of tasks and maybe things that I'm supposed to do. And it has, you know, boiled down to the mantra that I wake up to every morning, and I tell myself, Kaizen, continuous improvement in whatever area of my life, I have to improve, you know.
Okay.
For me, I'm born at a time when we are all together. I'm with my grandmother, my grandfather, my mother, my father, my aunties, my uncles, so that kind of environment. So one thing that I would recall is being told to, you know, that a woman, you do everything. I mean, you are not looking out for anybody. And for sure, the women in my life, they were the economic providers and everything. And the men were there. They are also playing their role. So for us, the issue of understanding roles, it's amazing that you are told to know how to cook ugali. I mean, now, my grandmother taught me how to cook ugali, and it was great. Okay, the only thing is, if I cook it today, I don't think some of the people would take it. Because, you know, my culture, ugali isn't really
it's
our
not
food.
The thing,
So she told me, you know, ugali, you put greens, you put grains of sorghum, then you put the flour so that there's something to chew. You don't just have a plain something. So
Mash.
it's colored, and it's and it was really nice.
Okay.
I feel sorry that we didn't grow up to develop that, because
Yes.
I felt, yeah, it touches the mouth. So we became adults at the age of 4. Or even earlier. Yeah.
Yes,
At
yes.
no time did we sit for others. Although in my home we had house girls.
Oh, you
somehow,
did?
yeah. But
Us too.
For us, they were not. I mean, we are all working.
Everyone
Yeah,
is
yes,
working.
absolutely.
Yes, it's
Yes.
not for the house help.
No.
I remember my mom would be so upset if we left something on the table, because she's like, it's yours. You used it. You must cleaning up after yourselves. Okay, we go for a short break. We'll be right back.
Tomorrow on Historia, Tamaduni na Sanaa. From hides and skin to urban design and styles.
Right now you feel like you'll be underdressed if you wore hides and skins right now. We can now transform those hides and skins to new designs which are more appealing to the eye.
Also part of the show,
I never saw anyone draw or use charcoal as a medium to create.
that's on Hitasa, tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. on Family TV.
Welcome back. This is She, and remember to send in your feedback to 20316 or 0786316316. Today we are talking about who am I? Just knowing your identity as a woman against all the socio-economic expectations surrounding us. And I'm with amazing women, Reverend Phyllis Bird and Stephanie and Dr. Rebecca. I find that, you know, with the male ego, when you're a very vocal, educated woman who is in a leadership position, sometimes the male ego will be intimidated by your power and your strength. And both of you are in stable homes, stable marriages. How have you done it?
I think interesting enough, men that I work with, that I have to, that feels intimidated by the strength of me,
okay.
you know, and I kind of constantly remind them in a very crude way that I'm not your wife. You know, so, you know, just don't expect certain things. I'm not here. I've not been ordained to pray for tea, you know, because it's the woman that has to pray for the tea, you know,
Yeah.
so no. So I, you know, or serve tea, you know, and I think that that's a constant reminder of my colleagues. But as far as home is concerned, that I think it's being able to marry a strong person, you know, but yet at the same time, not disrespect that person, help them to understand that, you know, they're a part of my life and my equation, you know. My success, their success, it's our success. It's not just about me. So yeah, I think it's the strength of the person you marry, and also, and one has to, you know, this is how I was before you married me. You know, it was no
Yes.
difference. You know,
Yes.
constantly reminding him. You know,
Yes.
you know, I didn't get here and change. I also advocate women marry when you're a little bit older, because as you get older, I think you get stronger in knowing who you are, and so there's no mystery. If I married the guy when I was 20 years old, I probably would be a divorce minister today.
Okay.
Because really, because the transformation of who I am now,
Yeah.
you know, and he would have looked back and said, "Who's that woman?" You know,
Yeah.
because you know, I think that there's a voice that comes at 30,
Yeah.
there's another voice that comes at 40, and with 50, I roar. You know,
Yeah.
you know, I definitely started roaring. You know, because there's here am I, you know,
I
that
like
type of
that.
attitude.
I like
So yeah, I think that transformation that I constantly see myself going through,
Yes.
you know, one has to be prepared to be adjust to that transformation. And I think we all go through that transformation as we grow older. There's a different stage that we're meeting ourselves in a different way, you know. So our spouse needs to be a part of that introduction to who we are.
Yes. How has your experience been? You're in a leadership position, you're young, you're beautiful.
You see, you don't start off as senior, you start off somewhere. So I've met quite some women obviously maybe they had their own issues and all that, but you know, they pull you down.
Yes.
And you're trying to really get into the field. They pull you down. They don't really hold your hand at all. But again, I've also met very amazing women, and I look back and they've been very, you know, instrumental to where I am now. You know, someone will look at you and they'll nurture you and they'll mentor you. Yes, and that is just something I usually, you know, love about women like that. And I strive to be that kind of woman as well. That you don't pull down someone rather than you elevate them, you mentor them rather than that. Yeah.
You know, quite often I find that men will use that as an excuse and say, but even women will do
Exactly.
But I say to them, women have been socialized, you know, and that socialization is that a man should be there.
Yeah.
I remember when I was ordained and I was sitting, had my clerical collar. I was the director of the Council of Churches in Brooklyn, New York, very high profile position. And I was told by a woman when I went to this church function that I was sitting in the men's section. You know, and I was shocked, the men's section, you know. But what she was saying, because that particular church did not ordain women, but I was there as a clergy person, you know, representing the organization. And, you know, I was sitting with clergy, amongst the clergy people, you know, but for her, I was a woman and I should go into the female section.
Yeah.
Now, she's been socialized, you know, and I didn't get angry with her.
Yeah.
You know, in one sense, I got angry with the socialization process, that this woman only saw this section as a men's section, but not a clergy section. You know, so I think that, you know, in one sense, I pity the sister who has to pull you down to make themselves be up, or step on you to, you know, to feel good about yourself, about themselves.
Dr.
Yeah, so I mean, the issue of knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And therefore, as you go, it's not people telling you, you know who you are. It's an article I think I read yesterday about Valentine, and the emphasis on couples and love and all that, and saying this is dangerous even for the church.
Okay.
Because the emphasis on marriage and couples, it's like your fulfillment comes because of this relationship. Once you form that mind, you are literally on sinking sand. So you need to find fulfillment in Christ Jesus, in Christ alone, so that as you relate with your husband, and I mean, it is not that the money I earn or the titles or the degrees, that's not the issue. I am God's child, and I see in you the glory of the King, so we walk together. And if I realize you are struggling, it is not to throw you away. It is to look for ways. How can we become friends? What is it that's hurting? And I think that a woman, God has given us that ability to make friends, so that like now these divorces, leaving each other, I think we need to wake up. We don't throw away people because they don't agree with us. No, we must learn how to work with the difference.
Yes.
And bring them on table so that we can enjoy a conversation.
Wow, that's powerful. I guess one thing that also affects us as women is childbearing. If you, when you get children, attention is split. And also, if you're at that age and you don't get children, all of a sudden you cannot relate with your peers. You know, and also raising children is such an intricate thing. People don't always understand all the work that is involved. Is there one thing that you can talk about that in relation to a woman just knowing her identity, retaining her identity?
Yeah.
You know, maybe I can start with you. How has it affected your identity?
The child I have is a second child. I had a first child, but she passed away after 2 weeks. I call myself a rainbow mom, which is, you know, after all the rainfall and all the thunder, a rainbow came and God restored, and He really did in a good way. And that has affected my identity in ways that, you know, it has helped me want to raise him better, that when I see him, he's a miracle. And he has really built the kind of woman that I'm becoming every single day. Yeah.
Wow. I do more now when I have more responsibility, I think, because, you know, the time is limited. How did it affect you, Dr.?
No, certainly, I mean, the coming of babies affects people and affects all of us, right from their formation. I mean, when you are not eating what you used to eat, or you are getting Yeah, I mean, they are, you know, the whole journey.
Even your
And,
body changes.
Your body changes and changing every other day.
Yes.
And, you know, I mean, it's something that you just have to learn. And then when they come, they don't seem to have the patterns that we are used to. You know, for once, like my husband keeps saying that we need to tell younger people that babies don't sleep for long. So your sleep patterns are
Will
changed,
change, yeah.
which will means you have sleep deficient and you are working
Yes.
and you are doing other things. And then everybody, like when I got my firstborn, I had many advisors. Everybody
Yes.
thinks baby should be like this, they should be fed like this, they should be like, I would almost win the girl and then go back. Let me say one thing that kept me and continues to keep me even now, because changes are until Christ comes.
Yes.
It is realizing who I am in God. Me time. It didn't matter what. To read my Bible, to pray, and to tell the Lord to give me the wisdom. Particularly like now when you get all these advice, and they are well intended.
Yes.
How do I know? Lord, give me wisdom on what it is to do. Lord, help me, like when my child sleeps, to sleep. So that I'm able to cope with the sleep issues.
Yes.
Yeah, so I kept praying, which even today, when the children are not in the house and you find yourself alone, I find that yes, every need he supplies, I want to look up to him to direct me into what next. Yeah, so that's awareness.
Yeah, I think, Stefan, in the heart of it, in the 30s, it's sometimes easy to think, I don't think God is here. Yeah.
I think I've become a #1 juggler. I mean, if I would put down on my CV, what else do I do? I'm a juggler, you know, because I had to learn how to juggle family, children, juggle work, you know, juggle being at the church. Everything's a juggling act. Ministry is not only going to church and preaching and going to my job and working with a faith-based organization, but it's also my family. And therefore, being able to pause and be able to say, I can't do this. Even if they say, oh, the ministers are meeting for prayer on this Saturday, but I promised my daughter I would do. I promised that, you know, the kids I would do. And I maintain that, you know, because it's very important, because I didn't want to be a hands-off mom. I didn't want my child to be raised by a housekeeper, you know, or taken back and forth to school by a driver. I wanted to pick her up, you know. I wanted to be able to, you know, take her out. And I've maintained that. But at the same time, parenting never, you know, and you're, you know, parent to older children, it never stops.
No.
Because I find myself now having to be reintroduced to my children, meaning at every stage of our lives, as I said earlier, we change. So I had to meet the child that just finished university, who now has likes and dislikes. My children are not married, but when they get married, I'll be meeting them as parents. I'll be meeting them as a husband and wife, and meeting them as parents, and then, you know, on down the line. So that for me is a new revelation. So that gives me not only prayers to pray, but work to work, you know. So therefore, it's that constantly meeting them and hearing from them and seeing how they grow and respecting the growth.
Wow, that's profound. Okay, as we wind up, what I've heard you say is that children, the child you gave birth to, the infant, is not always going to be that. It's going to be different people at different stages of their life. And I think also as a woman, we are different people at different stages of our lives. So as we wind up, how do we cope with the evolution of ourselves, you know? Your final thoughts on it?
I would say that there is a movies that was turned into a play and turned into a book that said, there was a line in that movies that I will never forget. And it said, I found God within myself and I fell in love with her fiercely. So I would say for me, I'm constantly falling in love with the God within me, you know, and discovering the God within me fiercely. And I live my life out like that. Like you said, taking moments for myself, you know, because those moments are my growth moments that I have, those silent moments. And saying it's okay to do that. Find the God within yourself, you know, and fall in love, you know. And I think that's very key and that's very important.
I hear you. Steph, your final thoughts on just holding on to your identity through the different stages of your life?
Being at the age I am, I've realized that my values have also really changed. And I can even just touch a bit on what she mentioned, that you know, she'd advise people to get married later, because I'm a victim of that. Because at some point I was in a relationship, and then, you know, someone tells you you've changed. And it's not that you've changed, you've grown.
You've evolved.
Okay? Because you can't be in a box, you're growing every day.
Yes.
And I've learned to be more intentional about myself, more intentional about loving myself more intentional about growth. And not being apologetic about it.
Amen.
Yes.
So identity is key, and we grow, we keep getting our, I don't think you'll get at a point
You'll
and
never
you're
stop.
saying, actually now this is my identity. No way.
No.
You will keep evolving.
Yeah.
You will keep evolving and embrace the process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Your final thoughts, man.
Yes, there's John Mason books that I was you are born an original, don't die a copy. I think I find that very important, that don't try to make people make you. And that's why I need God, my Father, who knows me, who sees me when nobody is there. I need my anchor there. So in the changing phases of life, anchored on Him, I have found it to be the sure foundation, worthy of every stage, even where I'm going, which I don't know. Another thing that I think should be there is choosing to be a learner.
Choosing to be a learner.
Yeah, don't sit at home when the people are studying the Bible, because you are what you know. And if the word of God is not in you, don't imagine that it will work in you. It has to be literally in you. That's why you need time to read your Bible, to be in fellowship, to read good books. Even if it means carrying the baby on your back and reading in the front as they go to sleep, that it is possible. Don't keep comparing yourself and trying to be also, and so doesn't do it. I am who I am, and may the Lord give me the strength and wisdom. So me and Christ, we are comfortable.
We're comfortable. Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. That was amazing. And that's it from us. Remember to send your feedback to 20316 or 0786316316 about your identity. What inspired you the most? See you next week, same time, same place. Good night.